Everyone thinks they're a gangster until they get an email from the underwriter telling them their loan got denied. Seriously, it's one of the most things that keep you up at night when you're buying a house. The underwriter's taking too long. What if the underwriter asks for this? What if the underwriter decides to ask about my childhood trauma? It's a terrifying thing to think about. So in today's video, I want to give you some tips to kind of help you calm down. You either are buying a house or you're looking to buy soon, and you've heard of the dreaded U word. Not UTI, something you should definitely keep an eye on, but underwriting instead. My wife is here next to me. You cannot see her, but if she decides to walk through, that's her. So, no, it's a video. Well, now you are. So first things first, what is an underwriter? Okay, they don't care about who you are and what you tempt them with or bribe them with. Okay, they work for the lending company, and their job is to make sure that that loan is going to be able to be sold. And in order for it to be sold or be able to be transferred, from processor to processor, or they're able to maintain it and make sure it's gravy, it needs to follow the guidelines. So they're just making sure that not only does it follow the national guidelines, the federal guidelines, state guidelines, but if it matches with the guidelines of the company. So that way, like I said, they can either hold on to it or they can sell it. So they're not your friend. They're not there to help you. You can be friendly with them. A lot of times you can't even talk to them. And as long as you give them the tools they need to do their job efficiently, they will like you. Will they pull strings for you and bend things around for you? Never. They will never do that. Well, if you're going to ask a question about like, hey, what if this or what if that? Don't ask the underwriter. That's the dumbest thing you can do. Go ask the lender, the person who originally took your loan, or maybe there's like a customer service rep, or I don't know, or a friend or some other lender. I don't care, but never ask them directly for specific things. Just a heads up. But anyways, here's the first tip I got for you. One of the things they're going to be asking you for is the bank statements, and now they're not going to ask you for every single bank statement you own. They're going to ask you for this primary bank statement where the money is coming from. So if you have all of your money in one savings account, they will need the bank statements for that savings account. When will they need other statements account? Well, if you're transferring a lot of money from the checking account to the savings account, they might want to see the checkings account to make sure that everything is gravy there. Okay. If you have a separate brokerage account, or if you have another account that you don't really, commingle the funds with, then they probably will not ask for that unless there's a specific reason for. So wherever you're sourcing the funds from, they're going to make sure to get the statements they need from there, and will only ask for other statements if just to kind of source the funds and make sure you're actually getting it from some kind of legitimate fund. Now, if for some reason you have this money cash and you decide to deposit it during escrow, or right before you look to buy a house, this is a huge red flag for an underwriter, and it's not going to work out. Okay, they cannot use unsourced funds. Source funds essentially is something that they can actually track. It's coming from an actual source that you are already have described, such as a job employment, or it could be like, hey, I have a savings account where I have been saving money, and here's a good track record of all the money I've saved. There it is. Or maybe there's a brokerage retirement account that you have the money there, and essentially it can be sourced at some point in time. Now, here's the thing though. They can only go back about 2 to 3 months. So if you happen to have like $50,000 cash, okay, and you deposit it this month, and you're buying a house 6 months, well, those funds are going to be already seasoned, because they're only going to look back 2 or 3 months, and those money's already there, right? So you want to make sure to double check this with the lender. Don't just take a random YouTuber's advice for this. Find out how your lender is going to want that seasoned. And if you're looking to buy in 6 months to a year, you should probably talk to a lender now just to get that advice now, and not wait till a month before you buy. Now, another thing about the down payment is if it's gifted, like if you have a friend or family member gifting it to you, it's okay with the lender most of the time, but it has to be a blood relative, a cousin, a grandpa, a mom, a dad. That works. The only time it doesn't work if it is like a fiance, or I don't know if sometimes fiance doesn't even work, a married partner. Okay. But you can't have, your friend, who you met on YouTube comment section of my channel, just, randomly send you money. And the lender's of course going to need some kind of letter written by that person, expressing why. If you plan on doing this, please talk to a lender ahead of time. And this is why I always recommend you find a decent lender and have a conversations like this with them ahead of time before you're actually talking with an underwriter, because a lender's going to prepare all these things before you even get to an underwriter, and it's going to be pretty smooth. When you're in the process of buying a house, people feel like, well, I don't know if this is you or it's just me, but when you're driving on the freeway and you happen to see a police officer, what do? Like, you just suddenly put on this, like, I'm the perfect driver. yes, I'm not going to put my turning every time I turn. You're just kind of on it, right? But you don't want to seem too suspicious, right? You don't want to completely just completely be perfect, right? Because then it's like, what are they trying to hide? So that's how you should approach things when it comes to buying a house with the underwriter. So as soon as you're on the buying mode, looking at houses under contract, I would even say a month or two prior, you want to turn that caution light on. It's okay to use your credit card. You know, you're not going to just completely be perfectly debt free all of a sudden when you've been using your credit card normally for the past, year, and now suddenly you're a person that doesn't believe in using credit cards, right? You want to make sure, if you've been overusing them, obviously don't continue overusing them. Like, slow it down a bit, be more cautious with it, but don't just completely just switch over and just be like, I don't spend any debt now, unless the lender specifically tells you that to help you with your credit. So drive cautiously, but don't cause any alarms. Okay, as soon as you're starting to buy a house, don't go frivolously buy a couch. I had somebody once years ago. They were, this wonderful family finally buying a house. Called me the few days of before closing. Javier, just we're so excited. We want to go buy a TV, couch, all that good stuff. What did you buy? Yeah, we just went to go buy a TV. The person at Cons Furniture was very lovely and very nice, and they said that actually would help our credit. So we did it, and we put it on credit, so no worries. It's really, we can't wait for this house. They didn't get a house. They did not get a house because they decided they saw the police officer, and they decided to go 90. That's right. So they completely kill their credit and ruin their debt to income ratio and everything. So that was definitely out of the normal. Buying a bunch of furniture is out of the normal. Deciding to just continue to not spend any money on the credit card is out of normal. Only do things as normal if you were already good. If you were kind of bad, follow your lender's advice and adjust accordingly. Okay. But don't go to extremes, because that's going to cause a red flag and underwriter. They're going to be like, hey, what are you trying to hide here? My next tip for you guys is to shoot for a conditional approval. So the way it works is when you're under contract, you're leading your eventual goal is to get a final approval on your loan. Once you get your final approval, they give the clear to close, and then you're signing and you're happy, right? Well, during that time, there's inspections, appraisals, all kinds of stuff. So before you get the full approval, though, you can get something called a conditional approval. What a conditional approval means is they have approved your loan as long as these conditions are met, right? And the goal that you should shoot for in every house that you buy, because you are going to buy more than one house, because I believe in you. The goal that you should shoot for is to get a conditional approval, with the only condition being the appraisal needed by like week 2 or 3. Now that's definitely a stretch, and it's going to be difficult to do, but every time it's happened in my life, it's worked out perfectly, because one of the conditions they need to close on your house is the appraisal. They probably don't order the appraisal till a week or 2, or if they do order it, they don't get it back to like week 3 sometimes. So you have 2 to 3 weeks there where you can submit all of the documentation, statements, job record, letters they might need, tax records, whatever they need, right? The insurance, all that stuff. They can get that information ahead of time now, and make sure there's no red flags. They do all their hard work, and they can give you a conditional approval saying, hey, your loan is fully approved. The only condition we need is that appraisal to come in now. So that way, when the appraisal comes in, they look at that, they review that. You got an early closing coming, and that's amazing. You don't have to close early, but if you have your documents at the title company early, you can sign early, and you don't have to worry. You might think it's annoying, but man, I tell you what, when you're closing and getting documents and title and doing everything the day of closing, it is stressful. It is definitely stressful. And if you have things done early, it gives you time to kind of prep and plan the moving and all that stuff a little more smoothly. So that's the goal. Talk to your lender ahead of time.
Hey, I heard this guy on YouTube who's very handsome say, hey, we should try to get a conditional approval within the first 3 weeks. You think that's possible?
They might say, well, that guy's full of crap. He doesn't know what he's talking about, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, great. But what if I wanted to do that? How is it possible?
And just shoot for it. Even if you get a conditional approval with like maybe another 1 or 2 conditions, like we need another statement, we need the pay stubs, whatever, then that's fine. Try to have some minor conditions. So the goal is to at least have a conditional approval before you get the appraisal with some minor conditions, of course, one of them including the appraisal. And my last tip for you guys is don't wait till you're under contract to like investigate or interview your lender about the underwriting process. One of the reasons why big banks suck, blank, whatever you want to put in there, is their underwriting department's like in a whole different state. When you're interviewing lenders, make sure to ask the questions about their underwriting department. Hey, where's your underwriting department? How smooth is it? How smooth is the process? Are they, don't ask them like, hey, they're going to break the rules for me, but just ask in general, like, are they in the same building as you? Do they work alongside you? Are they in another state? Just get to know what their underwriting process looks like. There's some other big banks out there that the person that you meet at the branch, the underwriter is going to be on the East Coast, if I'm on the West Coast. So you have to make sure to submit your documents. And if you submit them after you get out of work at 5, well, if you submit those documents at 5, they're not going to get them until like 5 a.m. your time, right? So because they take their time and they review things. So and when it's like a national bank, they take like a few business days just to review one freaking document. So you want to make sure to don't just wait till you're under contract. When you're interviewing lenders, don't just ask about interest rates and costs. Those are important, but what does your underwriting department look like? How smooth are they? How efficient? How quick are they? Or what's one thing I should look out for when I'm talking to other lenders about their underwriting department? Sorry for the bump. So just make sure to ask those questions ahead of time, and it'll probably save you a bunch of headaches. So that's it. Those are my tips I have for you for underwriting. So hopefully it calms you down a bit, just kind of assures you to know, hey, it's not a big deal. Things will be okay. Don't worry about it. If you're looking for a real estate agent referral, my link's in the description below. Of course, if you're looking for anything else, I have a bunch of free resources and paid resources in the description, so feel free to check them out. Hit subscribe, do your thing, have a good holiday season. Peace. I don't know why I kissed you. I'm sorry.